Okay, so with going what I thought was live for 20 minutes, then going live and realizing my mic was muted, we ran into some hiccups, but it's okay. When you go to a riff writing session alone without the, live stream element, you're bound to kind of run into some mistakes, and it has to be that way because for a couple of reasons. First of all, you learn from them. And then secondly, those mistakes, especially with the riff writing component, they can lead to ideas that you never, probably would have thought of had you not accidentally landed on them. So I'm gonna go through my spiel what is a third time, and if this has been happening from the start and you've been hearing it all along, I apologize, but you know, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today. And special thanks to everyone who helped the channel reach the 1,000 subscriber milestone. This is kind of the first, big milestone that a channel receives. So I just want to express my gratitude and thank everyone who's helped me get here because I started back in March of 2023 with my first video. So 80 videos later, not counting this live stream, here we are. So, what I've got planned today is something that I hope will be fun, and that is to show you a peek behind the curtain to see how a riff is made from scratch. And you'll see all the ideas along the way, the good and bad from start to finish. When I was streaming before, I was starting to come up with a little something, but if you're watching this, feel free to make suggestions of your own that could cause me to do like a 180 and really deviate from what I've been doing so far with it. But I'm using Steven Slate drums to sort of help in this creativity exercise. Hopefully, it'll help me. Well, I'm sure it will. It usually does. It helps me spark some ideas. I don't tend to leave a guitar writing session having written absolutely nothing. That doesn't mean everything is good, but I never walk away empty handed, so to speak. But Steven Slate drums, you can try that completely free. It is a virtual drum plugin. So it's like having a drummer, it's the closest thing to having an actual drummer in the room with you for a jam session. Um, yeah, and they do have a free version of this. It is kind of like it's not a trial as far as I know. It's like a standalone. You can use it indefinitely. But I did pay for the upgraded version because it has way more kits and way more grooves, but the free version is pretty solid as it is. They don't completely hold back with it. They do give you some good stuff. But in case you missed it, and if you haven't seen any of this stuff already, I do want to drop some other free goodies for you. You could check those out in the description of this stream, or you can go to my website, zachsharguitar.com. And one of my favorite goodies is the Elite Tones cheat sheet. And this is one of my favorites for a couple reasons. One is that it shows you how to dial in an amp and get great amp tones. It's something I know, a lot of guitarists struggle with. They're kind of hunting for the sound they want, and this kind of helps you get there with some of my best tips. And it also, in this stream, I'm going to be using a digital amp simulator. It basically it's like a physical amp but built into your computer. And what this cheat sheet also includes is direct links to some of my favorite free amp simulator plugins. And it also shows you how to make those free amp sim plugins or any digital amp simulator sound like an authentic physical amplifier. So if you have any interest in, the mixing and mastering, music production side of things, this is a really powerful tool to help you out with. And so I'm using Reaper that kind of houses all these other plugins like the Steven Slate drums and my amp simulator. So this is kind of a default template I have here for a full arrangement. I'm not gonna go for a full arrangement in this session, but you know, we'll see. I mean, I might really love what I come up with and try to, you know, at least have some drums and guitar, and from there, you know, the bass is easier, you know, if you have some experience with that at all. And I have a video showing you how to turn, basically turn your guitar into a bass. So I don't even need to plug, you know, unplug this and then plug in a bass. So yeah, here's what that looks like. Here's the Steven Slate drums. And as we go through this, I've said this before the tech issues. I don't know if I've said it since, but feel free to suggest ideas of your own along the way. You know, before the tech issues, I started coming up with something completely from scratch. But, you know, if you have ideas as to the tempo, the beats per minute, you know, if you see a groove here that you think would sound cool or you're curious about, I'll go for it. I'm open to pretty much any challenge. Same with keys. You know, keys, I have a whole video on like some of my favorite keys for metal that are not E minor, because if you play metal, you're tuned to E standard. It's easy to kind of gravitate towards E minor, but there's 3 other keys in that video that I think can sound pretty heavy. But anyway, let's see where this goes. I'll try to keep an eye out for tempo suggestions along the way, but I'll show you kind of what I've come up with so far. If I still remember it, I don't know. That's why it's good to do this stuff in a digital audio workstation like Reaper, so that way you can instantly grab those ideas before you forget them. Because you know you might be kicking yourself the next day, being like, "Oh, I should have recorded that. I liked it, but it's gone. It's gone." So let's see. I'm gonna try to. We'll just see where this goes. So it's kind of, I'm picking B minor for this. No particular reason, but it is kind of working out nicely for how I want to finish this groove in the turnaround. And I selected this groove because, as you can hear, the turnaround part is pretty unique compared to some of the other ones that I've skimmed across. So, initially I had the idea of doing like a, you know, like a power chord based thing. But I decided to change that last power chord to an octave. So it just kind of opens it up, I think. You kind of hear it going in that direction, but when you swap out the power chord with an octave, it makes it a little less predictable, even though you kind of feel it going that way, and it opens it up a little more. And then I kind of want to, what I'm picturing, I see this as kind of broken up into thirds. What I just explained was the first third, and then for the second third, I kind of want to chug my way down the neck in a descending fashion. And then what I'm picturing is doing that same pattern, but tremolo picking it. So let's see how that works out. I might have to slow the tempo down from 150 a bit just so I can get the hang of it. And when you're writing riffs of your own, you don't always start out at the fastest speeds. I mean, you know, there's stuff I've written, you know, in the 80 beats per minute, and I've left there. And then there's other things I've written, you know, 200 plus beats per minute, and you don't start right at the top at 200 beats per minute right away every single time. But Yeah, that's the beauty of having something like this too, is that you could slow that down if you need to figure it out and kind of get the hang of it so you can capture that recording, and that'll serve as a better reference point when you go back following days or following weeks and try to either record it and turn it into a song or use it, I guess, kind of evolve it, kind of make it blossom into something different. So let's see how that goes. So what I'm about to do right now is kind of revisit the key. As I do this, I kind of need to remind myself where I'm, supposed to be if I want to stay consistent in the key. Of course, there's not. You're also, welcome to give yourself the freedom to branch outside of the key, but this is just kind of my approach. I use the scales and the keys to sort of kind of serve as like the foundation for what could be a bigger idea. So, um, this whole descending chugging thing. So, I'm in B minor, or I'm trying to be. So, um, it's kind of like E Dorian a little bit too. So, um, oh, okay. So with that, um, when you're using when you're in the key of B minor and you want to use E Dorian. The good thing about that is, um, what I think is that you can use standard power chords on the second and third fret and still stay in the key. But if you're in E minor, that's not really the case. Yeah, you can have a power chord on the the third fret there. You can get a G power chord. But if you were to do F sharp right here, yeah, the F sharp note is in the key, but the C sharp, that's not technically in the key. Yeah, you could get away with it, sure. Like, no one's gonna, you know, judge you for that, but it's just a good thing about the Dorian, the E Dorian. So let's see where. That's in the key, that A power chord. Yeah, and then the G. So I can really just chug down with straight up fifths on that one. I think I might have it, but let's try it. the turnaround with the drums, it almost has like a pause at the end. And I don't know if I want a tremolo pick over a pause, but I mean, it works, but I don't know. I could go in manually in the MIDI editor and kind of add some stuff if I want to, but if I'm trying to get a riff, I'm not too worried on the drum arrangement for now. Alright, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna bump it back up to 150 BPM. I don't know if the trim picking's gonna work after all, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna try to persevere with it, because I like the idea in my head, but sometimes the idea in your head doesn't exactly, translate to on paper as well. But I'm gonna try to make it work. If not, I could swap out the last third of this riff for, something else. I think I am going to dial back the BPM for now, because it's not practiced yet. I'm still creating it, so there's times where you want to dial back the tempo so you can get a hang of it, then record it, and record it in a way where you get at least most of that idea in a way that's memorable. I might even try to trim pick something else entirely instead of almost doing like a call and response to what I was chugging along with the power chords. Let's see what happens. I kind of like that. So it's almost gonna... I look at it as being, we're in, like I said, B minor, but this is almost looking like an F sharp Phrygian type of thing at the end. Let's see. Let's see how it sounds. That might be it right there. I think that's a much better fit than what I initially sought out to do for a couple reasons. Let's see, I'm going to try to pause this for now. So finishing that, see, this is why it's good to make mistakes, because I just discovered something that I wouldn't have really otherwise had I not made the mistake. But I think that the way I'm ending it now is better for, you know, a couple reasons. One, it's more interesting. It kind of ends it on that more Phrygian type of sound, which is kind of more exotic. And it also solves the problem that I faced with the pause at the end of the turnaround as the measure repeats. Because I could just land on, you know, a little harmonic if I want, and you know, I love doing pinch harmonics. I think they're fun. You know, like Zach Wild, I think they're really fun. But yeah, I think it fits. I don't think it's forced. And even if it was, sometimes I kind of like that, the forced, you know, unnecessary pinch harmonics. But now I think it really serves the riff a purpose in this case. So I'm gonna try keep going at this tempo, and then I might more gradually increase it. I think I'm at 100 beats per minute right now. I don't know. I'm at 120. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna try to work my way up if it sounds good. I mean, I kind of think it sounds good right now, but this is what these are things you want to play with too. You might be playing something in a specific key at a specific tempo, but those are variables you might want to change as you're writing something. You might want to at least try changing the variables as you're writing just to see what they sound like. So let's jump in and work with that some more. Kind of liking this. What I'm not sure though, and this is why it's important to kind of record. I'm not doing it just yet, but that chugging, you know, descending palm muted power chord bit that I'm doing, I don't know that I'm doing it consistent. I'm trying to somewhat match what's going on with the drums rhythmically with it, but I can't say for certain that I'm on par with that or doing it consistently. So I'm going to try to focus on that a little bit more right now. Now I'm kind of liking, at least I think I'm liking that 135 tempo a little bit better. I don't know if it's because I can play it easier, at least than the 150 for now, but that's kind of where I'm feeling the pull. But I'm gonna try with this 150 a little bit more. It's not exactly, I've kind of been calling it tremolo picking, but it's really just, I don't know if I'd call it tremolo picking. That seems a little generous. It's, you know, when I think of tremolo picking, I think of something a little, you know, a little faster, but, you know, regardless, it's some alternate picking. I don't know if it's, might be 8th or 16th notes. I can't really tell right now, but yeah, I'm gonna try again with the 150 tempo. If I get it up to, if I kind of, you know, stay up to speed with it, and I'm still feeling the pull back to 135, I might actually record in the 135 because I'm already picturing some potential harmony ideas with a second guitar part, so I might give that a shot too. But let's play with it a little bit more and see where it takes us. Yeah, I think 150 feels, I think as not just a player but a listener, kind of rushed, because I kind of do want to hear the power chord here and the octave here ring out a little bit more. So I might dial it back. It might be somewhere in between 135 and 150, but let's see where it takes us. think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna try to record it at the 135 tempo. So what I'm gonna do then, I'm not playing this in a looped track. I'm playing it in the Steven Slate plugin itself. So let's see. Okay, so it's the chorus 11 crash 4 bars. So I'm gonna take this. The only way I know how to do this. I'm gonna drag it to its own track. Now I can stop that. And then what I think I'm gonna do is drag this out. Because I want to give myself, you know what? I might let this go twice. Okay. I dragged this away from, well, this drum track here, I dragged it away from the beginning because I've got a click track up here and I want it to give me some sort of count in so that way I can hit record, prepare to play it, and then play it. So let's see how that goes there. I think I'm gonna give myself 2 count in or double the count in time. Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. It'll probably, you know, like most people, when you do this, you hardly ever get it on a first take, but I've got the idea. Even though it's not super well rehearsed, I just want to capture it. And like I said, I'm almost seeing a second guitar part happen alongside this at certain parts. I'm hearing like, you know, harmony in a third fashion. So let's try to get at least something down, even though if it's not, you know, even if it's not perfect. I got to keep in mind I'm going to be playing this whole thing twice. So once I finish, you know, the riff, I got to remember I got to play it again because I think that's going to help me introduce the second guitar part, at least in a way where it stands out. All right, I got, you know, it's probably not the best take, but I've got something here. Just kind of trim the end a little bit. So this is guitar 1, and you're gonna get a little behind the scenes too of kind of the mixing process. So what I'm doing right here is I'm panning this all the way to the left because when you have 2 guitars, and now we're entering, you know, an actual sort of production situation. We're kind of moving beyond the riff writing. And, you know, when you have a setup like this, when you're using a digital audio workstation like Reaper and you've got your plugins, is that these riff writing sessions kind of turn into a production, or I think you could even call it a pre-production stage, but yeah, so that's all the way to the left, that track. And so I'm going to mute it. I'm going to go to guitar 2, and then I'm going to pick, let's see. I just downloaded Tonex, the free version. You can go to IK Multimedia and try that. It's pretty sweet. I've got just a little bit of experience with it, but let's see if there's something here that okay. Uh, Still a little new to me. Is it gonna work? Oh, here we go. Okay. So you see here what the amps are that the Tonex version is based on. So let's put the ooh, why does that sound so quiet? I thought they had a 5150 here. Oh no, they have a. Okay, that's a little better. That's the Mesa Boogie. Yeah, I think I have to turn that down a little bit. So. Thank you, John. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I like the tremolo picking part too. I try, when I do this, I kind of want to. You only get so much time to make it interesting, and not every riff you write has to be like, out of this world. And I think a lot has to do with serving the song. Like if I had a singer, and if I plan to have a singer with this song, it might not be as busy. I mean, it may or may not be. It might work that way, but let's. I appreciate it. Thank you for the congratulations and the compliment. So we're gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna try this Mesa Boogie. I think I'm gonna have to turn the audio down a little bit, and we're gonna do the second guitar part, and you'll see me kind of figure it out along the way if I am harmonizing. So let's just go with it. So I'm almost so when that starts out, the I'm almost hearing this octave here harmonized. So what I think I'm gonna do for guitar 2 at that point, let's see. So we're gonna go a third up from there, which I think would be the 12th fret. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, John, I think you have a good point there because I don't know if you listen to Avenged Sevenfold at all, but they kind of balance that the way you're describing. I think that's why they're such a successful band and why they are one of the last bands that have like guitar heroes in them, and have inspired like a whole generation to pick up a guitar because they use those intros and the spaces, where there's not the singing to kind of showcase the virtuosity. I don't know, just the skills of both Sinister Gates and Zacky Vengeance. So, and when M Shadows is singing, they kind of dial it back, even though a lot of their stuff still is kind of technical. Like Speaking of a tremolo picking example, backcountry, there's kind of a faster little tremolo picking bit going on where they're singing. So they could pull it off, but yeah, I agree with what you say. You said you want to kind of. I think it's healthy to have that balance. I think it serves the song, and I think that's where bands, especially in the metal and rock genre, have the most success because there's those subgenres that are all about just the technicality and that's that's kind of a novelty, but as far as something you would want to listen to, something that's timeless, um, it doesn't really have that classic feel. But let's yeah, good point. So I'm gonna go back into this third idea and see if I am right about where that third is with the octave. I don't know if I care much for the third there. It might be the way I have this leveled, but I definitely want to see where it goes with that ending, trem alternate picking part. I want to see where that goes. I may have just found the location for the harmony on the tremolo picking part. And when you ever go to do this, you'll notice how alarmingly different the second guitar part sounds from the first, because the first part on the tremolo picking, it has more of a Phrygian vibe, but where I think I'm going to be for the harmony, it has more of a like a Mixolydian vibe. And Mixolydian mode, I would say, is probably the brightest sounding modes, whereas the Phrygian mode is more it's darker. It's very fun. It sounds really cool. It's very exotic sounding. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that Mixolydian part alongside the Phrygian and see if that kind of lines up how I think it's going to. All right, I think I'm gonna try to record it. So, just to share my thoughts out loud, I want to play, since this is repeated, so I'm gonna play guitar 2 exactly the same as guitar 1. And then in in the repetition of the riff, um, what I'm gonna do is introduce the harmony. So that way, I'm kind of thinking big picture with this. I don't know if I'm going to turn this into an actual song, but um, you want to kind of keep that interest going. If I go straight out the gate with the harmonies, and then I keep them going, it gets stale after a while, and I really like to be selective with how I use the harmonies because I think they're reserved for making things more interesting. Thank you so much, Dayar. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Please correct me if I am not, but thank you so much. And thank you for your support all along the way. Yeah. I wish I could do a backflip. Um, I always wanted to, but maybe if I still skated, I could do a kickflip, but those days are long ago. But yeah, let's see where this goes here with this recording. I think I need to practice it a little more. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to try to record alongside the guitar 1. Yeah, I'm not liking that harmonized octave there, so I'm going to play pretty much the whole thing parallel except that tremolo picking part. Let's see where that goes. I think I'm going to try to record it this time because I'm feeling somewhat confident about it. So I'm kind of liking the way that felt. I may have flubbed a little bit, but I just want to see how this sounds. Go play it from the beginning. See if my levels are right. Okay, I am not upset about that. I think if I were to dissect it, you'd probably find the flaws, or what I like to say, the humanity in it. But I am not hating how this has turned out. So pretty much all I have to do to have the the rock trio of it is add bass, and I might do that. I might do that if you want. Let's see. My name is pronounced Dr. Dr. Okay. If I'm still not saying it correctly, please let me know. I want to get it right. But won't blame you for getting it wrong. I appreciate the understanding. Oh, okay. Dr. Do you mind sharing where you're from? No obligation, but I'm just curious. What type of song and music are you planning? Um, that's a good question. I mean, I think this particular thing is kind of more, I guess you could maybe call it progressive. I don't know. It's because it's, I might say some blend of rock and metal. I might say some modern rock, modern hard rock. I don't know. That's I don't always set out to write to a specific genre. I do ultimately consider myself to be a metal guy at my core, but no. I think this particular thing, cuz I am playing to a metal groove. At least that's how it's categorized on Steven Slate, but yeah, I guess if we're being generous with it, we could say it's a metal piece, but um this is more of just like an exercise in creativity. I think it would be cool to turn something like this into a song. I don't know. Do you guys think it has that potential? Because I don't even know, is this drum pattern supposed to be a I think yeah, it's supposed to be a chorus. So I don't know if it we'll have to see. I mean, I might have to recruit a singer to kind of see with that, or it could just be an instrumental piece. I'm from Iraq. Might be surprising, but hey, that's how the yeah. Kudos. No, that's so cool. I set out to do this thing, and I never would have guessed who might have found my content. So that's really cool to hear. Okay, so now I think I might finish this off because I am getting kind of hungry. Lunchtime is about now, but I might try to lay down some bass. And if you haven't seen the video and if you weren't here earlier, I do have a whole video that kind of walks you through in more detail about how to write and record bass without having a bass. And you'll see a little bit as I do that. So what I'm gonna do is, okay, so that track is not activated. I'm gonna go up to the bass track on my template. Oh, the volume's down on my guitar. That's where the error is. Okay. So here I want to play, or I want to pay extra close attention to the drum, particularly the kick drum, because that is really where the blend is. The chemistry between the drummer and the bassist. I've always heard it was important, but never until I've kind of matured as a musician did I really realize why that's the case. So yeah, I have to pay attention to that. I might have to listen to it a few times, that with the guitar, to really know what I want to write bass wise with this. And when you hear me playing the bass, it's not going to sound like a bass just yet. It's going to sound like a guitar until after I record it. Then I'm going to introduce the plug-in moves. So let's see where this goes. Probably mute this click track. It's kind of annoying and it's kind of interfering with my bass writing skills. So I'm focusing on the kick drum with this, and the way this groove starts out, it's like it almost doubles up on the repetition. One. And then it's got that. So I have to be mindful of that. See, bass is trickier than one might expect, especially as a guitarist. So here is where I think I'm going to keep some consistency with the bass more so than the guitar, because if you were here in the earlier stages of this riff, I was kind of picturing that little chugging pattern. The where how does it go? That's kind of how it started out, and then it went to that more Phrygian flavor. But I might kind of do that repetition with the bass because it's more aligned with the drums, and I'm just curious how it's gonna sound. I'm gonna try that again. I wasn't super consistent on the repetition on the second half of this whole thing, so I'm gonna undo that and then give it another go. But I do have what I think is gonna be the main bass idea for this section. So I'm feeling okay about that. I'm gonna have to listen to it to hear for sure and have a more solid opinion. But another little tip: when you're writing bass as a guitarist, you want to put a little bit more heft into your picking because you need to do that for your bass to pop out more. Basses or bassists are a bit more heavy-handed, and you're already kind of fighting for the listener's ear in a sense, because the nature of the frequencies. But that's just a little tip. If you're a guitarist, you're trying to write some bass, you want to hit it a little harder, and also keep in mind what I said before about focusing on the drums. you don't want to play the exact same thing that the guitar is the that the guitar is playing for the most part. Um, it's kind of easy to go into that situation. Oh yeah, if the guitarist is playing power chords, you just hold the root down. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cases where that is practiced and cases where that makes sense even, but you kind of got to step back, try to enter the mind of a bassist and kind of go from there. Does anyone else here, if you're watching, like, does anyone else play any other instruments besides the guitar? And if so, do you find it, I don't know, just how does that work for you? Do you find yourself entering each instrument with, you know, that specific lens, or do you find that you're able to kind of mix and match your perspectives um, as a multi instrumentalist? But yeah, I'm gonna take a listen to this. I'm gonna add my bass plugins. I'm gonna keep the mic on while I do this. Okay, so right now it's just basically a clean guitar with other distorted guitars serving as a bass, but here's where the magic happens. So I'm gonna go to my plugin panel, and what do I have to do? I have to go to the stock Reaper pitch shift plugin. This is the most important plugin move to make it a bass, by the way. So if you're seeing what I'm seeing, you're gonna go down to shift octaves. You just drop that down to -1. Okay, and here's how that sounds. Way fatter, right? And I'm liking that arrangement. I'm liking that repetition with the bass. John says, I play a little piano and I've been wanting, oh man, I'm jealous. And I've been wanting to get into bass, but I agree that you have to get into that instrument's mindset. I don't personally like when the bass just mimics the guitar part. Yeah, yeah, it sounds like you get it, John. And I'm jealous. The piano, I don't know if I heard this from somewhere, but my understanding is that if you can play the piano, you can play pretty much anything. The way your brain has to kind of split, um, having each hand and the fingers on each hand do different things. It's like the same as a drummer. Like that's why it's so hard for me is because you're holding down like this the limbs are not in unison with each other. That's why I think I have a much easier time with the guitar because you're either picking the same rhythm as what is being played with your fretting hand or you're not. I mean it's less you know work for the hemispheres. And the Reaper pitch shifter sounds much more realistic than the Ableton pitch shifter that I use sometimes to get a bass sound. Oh, okay. Um, Ableton is that? I think I think I've used Ableton. It came with a MIDI keyboard that I got a long time ago. Um, if I'm not mistaken, John, I get the impression that Ableton tends to be favored by like electronic music producers. But correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and the Reaper stock plugins are very impressive. Like if you buy, it's just $60. Like their I love their what is it? Their EQ too. Like I've got other EQs, and it's so simple, so easy, and it does what I want it to do. But yeah. So and that was just one plugin move. I don't even have this thing going through a bass amp yet. Oh, okay, yeah, exactly. EDM. Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if I was mixing that up with a different one, but okay. So I'm gonna try to add. Let's go to amplitude. Because I have two bass amps here. I'm a budget guy. I don't go. I try not to buy things that I don't need if I could get the free alternative. And that's kind of what I'd like to pass on to you guys. Because if you could get the same sound or just as good, maybe in some cases an even better sound with happening. Without spending the money, it's like why not? So I'm gonna go down to the yeah, this is the bass amp section. Go to my solid state. Okay. I'm gonna add some distortion now, but I don't want to overdo it. Because that was quite distorted. I don't want to the reason why I add distortion to the bass and why it's pretty common in most genres, if not, well, I'll just say most genres, is that with the bass, something that most listeners probably don't realize, I would bet they don't realize, is that the bass kind of gives you some harmonics that really enrich the mix, and you need distortion and able to pull that off. So I'm gonna have this go. I'm gonna adjust the distortion to a level that I think sounds good, but we'll see. I'm gonna solo that bass track for now. Okay. Oh, did I mute it? Oh, it's the acoustic. There we go. It's like the tiniest bit that I'm adding. Let's see how it sounds in the mix. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. And this is where, you know, if I were to actually do this for production's sake, I would almost want to have this whole thing recorded and then play it on like a phone speaker or something like that, because right now I'm on my studio monitors. But and that, you know, that helps like the most with mixing, but I find that the bass kind of helps. What was I gonna say? Oh, I lost that train of thought. But I'm sure if I go back and I watch this, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's what you were gonna say. But yeah, well, I guess basically the point is like bass tends to sound louder when I'm playing through my studio monitors. Let's see, DR. I'm gonna try to lock that in. Distortion feels a bit too much. It sounds louder. Yes, exactly. That's why what I want to do is dial it back a little bit. I'm glad you told me, because I was worried about that with my studio monitors. So let's try to find a more appropriate level with that. And it might be a distortion issue. It might be an EQ issue. I'm not gonna go quite into all the EQ and, you know, other, like, even compressing things just yet. This is really just the pre-production stage of the process. But let's see where this takes. Yeah, is that better, do you think, DR? Might have to bring it down a little bit more. Or turn the distortion. Let's play with the distortion a little bit more. Okay, sounds more comfortable. Now, ultimately, what I find where my when I go as in depth as I am right now in a single creativity session, as I'll call it, um, really, you know, you could go in a bunch of different directions. You could try to add a riff before or after. A lot of times, it's good to give yourself space from what you come up with, so that way you're kind of fresh when you re-enter that idea. Because in the meantime, I don't know. This is all like I almost want to say it's theoretical, but I think there is some like psychological basis to this. Is that your brain subconsciously kind of processes things throughout the day, and so like that's why one of many reasons why sleep is so important. So you if you view this as a problem, and even your subconscious views this as a problem, you'll kind of be processing this. Like I might be processing this while I sleep tonight, and it might help me come up with some ideas. And I notice throughout the day too, like you spend enough time listening to the same thing over and over again. When you stop listening to it, it still kind of goes on and on in your head. So, yeah, I think giving yourself space does this wonders. But what you can do also, in addition to building upon this, adding more riffs, is to add solos, add potential lead ideas. Um, you know, unless I re-enter this situation, um, with an idea that I've kind of processed in between, I'm but like right now I'm not really hearing this as being something I would want to solo over or add leads over. And I think a lot of it has to do with the busyness of it, especially at the end where I do have those harmonies. But I think this is where I'm gonna let it sit for today. I'm gonna hang around just for a little bit. If anyone has any more or any questions or anything they want to ask, um, you're welcome to do so. But let's see here. Okay, just. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. This was fun for me. I've never done a live stream quite this long before. And I'm very grateful for all the support and having the channel reach the 1,000 milestone. I'd like to keep it growing. Of course, every YouTuber wants to do that. And if you haven't done so already, if you're, you know, you're watching this now, if you're watching this down the road and you stumble across me for the first time, I do like to give out some goodies in every single video. And one of those is the Elite Tones cheat sheet that I mentioned. All you have to do is click the link in the description of this, or you can go to my website, zachsharguitar.com, and download it. But what it does is it gives you my best tips on how to make an amp sound great, how to dial in tones to your liking. It even has direct links to some of my favorite free digital amp simulators. And it also shows you how to make them sound like authentic physical amplifiers. So make sure you grab that. There's other resources on my website that I think are super helpful also. I'm going to hang around just for another minute, maybe, or so, just to see if there's any more questions. Yeah, I have no questions in mind for now. Thank you for sharing these useful. Thank you for sharing this useful information. I actually recently messed with Reaper, so watching this is pretty useful. Good, good. Yeah, I love Reaper. I've had a little bit of experience with Pro Tools when I was like in high school, but I think you get so much bang for your buck with Reaper, and it's so great that you could just try it for free too. John says, I like this so far. I think you should continue fleshing out some more parts so you can come up with a section that allows you to play a solo over it. Yeah, I love that, John. Um, that's my big thing. Um, I love the challenge of writing a solo and having stuff like this, and like you're saying, maybe something to add to it that gives more room and air to writing solos and leads. Like that is the most fun for me, and some of the hardest work is already done at that point, because when writing a solo you need to have something to write over, and when you have the thing to write over you can you get more direction with what to do. So it's different from just trying to write a solo over nothing. I mean, it can work, and I'm sure it's been done, but yeah, it's very rare. And what John, you also said, and then you could add a heavy breakdown part too. Yeah, um, I do like those really crushing sections of songs. I like particularly at the end of songs where they kind of you get a solo in, you get a feel, but it's I don't know. It's like this rising tension, and then it's like the breakdown is almost like the climax. And I like to end it there because you don't get that falling act. I'm like looking at this like it's a story, right? But I can maybe go into more detail about that in like its own video. But yeah, yeah, I like the breakdown idea. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today. This was a lot of fun for me. I'd like to do it maybe again down the road if you guys are interested. But again, I'm so grateful for the support. And thank you again for checking out my content. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I am Zach with Zach Shar Guitar. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.